Ladies and gentlemen, on your screen is Mihir Shah, the son of Shiv Sena strongman, the accused in the Mumbai hit and run case. It's going to be up on your screens very soon. He was on the run for almost 60 hours. That's Mihir Shah. On the run for almost 60 hours, hiding in a flat in Mumbai. His mother and sister have been taken into custody as well. His father has been arrested, is now out on bail, and the driver is in jail. Rajrishi Bidawat, the driver who was allegedly forced to give control of the luxury vehicle to Shah, that's Mihir Shah, hours after he spent nearly 20,000 rupees at a bar, little over 18,000 rupees at a bar. On the other side is this family. Pradeep Nakhwa, husband, daughter. Amrita, still coming to terms with Kaveri Nakhwa's death. CCTV footage indicates Miss Nakhwa was dragged for 1.5 kilometers, some say 100 meters, some say a little over a kilometer, after the collision, much before the BMW stopped. But worse, Mihir, who was on the driver's seat, swapped seats again, and once the driver took over, he reversed the car yet again over the woman's body for a second time before the two fled the scene.
आज वो क्या जेल में गया, परसों कोर्ट में हाजिर करेंगे, उसके बाद में उसको बेल मिलेगा, वो छूट गया, उसके बाद में केस चलता जाएगा, कोई नहीं है, सब ठंडा हो जाएगा। क्या करेगा हम लोग? किधर से हम लोग पैसा लाएगा? किधर से वकील करेगा? बताओ, कौन है हमारे लिए वाली? हमारा संभालने वाला कौन है? ये नेता लोग को कुछ नहीं, उसका ही लीडर का ये है बेटा। वो क्या बड़ा आदमी है? वो ऐसा 20 आदमी खरीद सकता है, पूरा ये खरीद सकता है वो पूरा। हम लोग के पूछे कौन है? कभी आया देवेंद्र फडणवीस बोलने के लिए आया इधर कि क्या हो गया है? कभी एकनाथ शिंदे आया घर पे कि इसका ऐसा कैसा हो गया, इसके पीछे क्या है? अजित पवार आया? तुम लोग कुर्सी के लालच में है ना, सब अंधे हो गए, अंधे कुर्सी के लालच में। तुम्हारे लिए कुर्सी सब है, पब्लिक नहीं है। पब्लिक के लिए सिर्फ तुम लोग वोट की भीख मांगने के लिए आते, बाद में पब्लिक को भूल जाते हैं सब लोग। पब्लिक है ना, कचरा है, कचरा तुम्हारे लिए कूड़ा रहता है ना, कूड़ा है, कचरा है। सिर्फ बोलते हैं हम लोग गरीबों के लिए करते, गरीबों के लिए करते। क्या किया तुम लोग गरीबों के लिए? बताओ ना। आज तुमने जो योजना निकाली, लाडली योजना, आपकी लाडली बहन आज मर गई है, उसको खींच के लेंगे गया, कोई उसको समझने वाला नहीं। मेरे सामने खींच के लेके गया और बोलते हैं वो रिवर्स में डाला। अगर रिवर्स में डालता तो वो बच नहीं जाती, क्या बताओ?
I want him that we should get justice. My mother should get justice. I want him to get this hanging. Like, she is in really bad pain. उसको बहुत लगा है. I saw her with my eye. The hospital, I saw her. She's in really bad pain. I want her justice.
It was just last month when a teenager, few months short of 18, was drunk and driving the luxury car belonging to his father, a real estate businessman, when it hit a two-wheeler in Pune. During the early hours of May 19th, killing two IT professionals, Anish Avadia and Ashwini Koshta. Ironically, these two cases, however horrific, are not isolated cases in Mumbai and Pune. In Mumbai or even Delhi, for that matter. In Hyderabad, April, earlier this year, a truck rammed into a bike from behind. The rider hangs from the side of the truck. Bike gets dragged on for kilometers. Same truck hits another car later. the truck driver is arrested. In Maharashtra's Kolhapur, in June this year, speeding car rammed into multiple bikes. 3 people were killed in this horrific accident. In Nagpur, July, 63-year-old cyclist hit by a school bus. Cyclist succumbed to the injuries. Accused bus driver booked. If you look at the record, there's a whopping 43% increase in hit and run cases in a span of just 4 years, from 2019 to 2022. Whopping 43%, and I'll explain to you this figure bit by bit. From 47,028 incidents of hit and run in 2019 to 67,387 in 2022. That's what really we're talking about. Deaths from 47,504 in 2019 have dropped to 30,486. We may see this as a drop, but the truth remains it's 30,486 life lost in just hit and run cases. We are talking about only hit and run cases in India. And this is the National Crime Records Bureau. But it's not just a change in numbers. There's also a change in the Indian laws. The new criminal laws are in place. But does anything change around on the ground? At least let's look at the laws first. The new hit and run law under section 106(2) of the BNS aims to fill the gaps, experts say, left by the old IPC provision. The new law introduces harsher penalties, including up to 10 years of imprisonment and fines for those who flee accident scenes without reporting to authorities. This offence, importantly, is classified as non-bailable, and that's a big change. Because earlier, and I will explain to you the concept in the IPC as well about how it was a bailable offence. The stricter penalties, though, are in response to the severity of hit and run accidents, which often lead to loss of life, severe injuries, significant trauma for victims and their families, especially when immediate help is not available. By making the act of fleeing a separate offence, now remember, this is what has changed remarkably. The new law makes the act of fleeing a separate offence altogether. The new law targets this aspect. For years, India struggled with hit and run incidents under Section 304A of the IPC, which dealt with causing death by negligence. This old provision only imposed a maximum jail term of 2 years. So under the IPC, it was essentially just 2 years of jail terms, a fine or both, and it was bailable. As I explained to you, it was a bailable offence. It didn't address the run part of hit and run cases, leading to more fatalities and trauma. At least that's what experts believe, that there was no deterrent explicitly mentioned in the IPC. Therefore, a stronger legal framework was needed to cover all aspects of hit and run incidents. The latest case is, of course, a case that has come after the implementation of the BNS. So it's going to be tried under the BNS. We'll have to see on the ground what changes, how it changes. But I'm being joined right now by Shilpa Mittal, who's the sister of Siddharth. Many of you may remember that extremely shocking case. Young Siddharth, who lost his life as a minor, was driving a BMW in Delhi. Thank you very much, Ms. Shilpa, for joining us, for talking to Mera Now. I'm sure you've been following all the developments, whether it be in Mumbai and Pune. You're somebody who lost your brother. You fought for your brother's case for a very, very long time, Shilpa. How do you look at what's played out?
What I actually see here is, what one thing which is common in all the cases is that there are rich and powerful. It's like a fight between a rich and a poor or a middle class. So you can clearly see the difference that the system actually prefers or actually helps the victim, the perpetrators, and actually makes the victim out of the victim. You have to scream your lungs out to get justice in this country, and it is still going to happen. The laws were there initially also, it's there today also, but I have understood in the 8 years of fight that I've had in the courts that there are two laws. One is what we believe in as a common man, that if something is done, something is wrong, and then you will get punished for it. But then when you go to the court is when you actually see the real world, and it's all about the word games. And there are powerful lawyers, the battery of lawyers, they come, they try to intimidate you, that they use foul language in the court. I don't know why they don't stop, but there's so much of intimidation. I actually have to quit my job and focus completely on this. I couldn't have my baby planned only because I was so stressed. So you imagine there's so much of life that has been disturbed by just one single incident, and there is nobody to support you. The system definitely doesn't support you. It's not for the victim. And that's what I see here.
Shilpa, you're making such a very important point.
We all can say
absolutely.
that.
In fact, whether it be the Pune case or whether it be the case in Mumbai, in Worli right now, we're seeing the distraught family members, and if we can have those visuals up as well. I mean, their loss is absolutely irreplaceable. They have to come to terms with that. But it's not just them coming to terms with that. It's not just them coming to terms with the fact that they will never have their loved one by their side anymore. But it's also somewhere the very long drawn battle that they have to fight. And often it's not just a straight way up for justice. As we are seeing, whether it be in Pune case or in Mumbai case, it's about a very harmful, horrid nexus of law enforcers, of money, of corrupt and politics altogether. Do you see any of that change since the 2016 case that happened with your brother, which happened with you, to what's unfolded today in 2024?
No, I was only fighting for one thing. See, any of these victims, and including me, the family of the victim, we are not fighting for justice. There is no justice for us, because no matter how long I can fight this for, I'm still the loser because my brother is never going to come back. So I have always been fighting so that people don't have to go through this. But the judiciary and the system is failing me so badly, because if they delivered, we had a watertight case, the police did a fabulous job with the new team, and they delivered a good FIR, but then there is no judiciary which is ready to take action. I wait for every justice or something to be heard. It takes like 1 year, 2 years, otherwise it's just dates upon days, and I wait all day.
Where is your case right now, Shilpa? Where is your case right now? Could you give us a sense of that?
One thing. Yes, please. I would love to say that it's been 8 years, and you'll be surprised to know that not one effective hearing has taken place. There is video footage, there is acceptance of everything. We have 84 or 64 witnesses on it. Everything is watertight, but for every justice or every order which is out, they file an appeal. We have to go to the upper court. So I do Juvenile Justice Board, I go to then Children's Court, then I go to High Court, and then I go to Supreme Court. So originally it happened for the adult, he should be tried as an adult, and while we reach Supreme Court, we realize there's a flaw in the law, and nobody can be tried as an adult. Do you know that? When the Porsche case happened, I said the same thing. Nobody can be tried as an adult because there's a flaw in the law. And now we came back to the JJB, which is the Juvenile Justice Board. Now, again, you have to fight. Then they are saying 304 or 304A, which is, one is 7 years, to be in the layman word, 7 years punishment or 2 years. We are fighting for the 7 years. So now they've gone to the High Court. I'm fighting the case in High Court. We have not even framed the charges yet. That's where the case is. Not one effective hearing has taken place. It's been 8 years. Can you imagine? Everything is there. All the footage, all the witnesses, everything, and still not one effective hearing. That's how your judiciary works. It's frustrating to say the least. And how many people can go every day to the court, every month to the court, leaving their jobs, their kids, and their life, and go through the agony and live that life again and again?
Absolutely nothing short of reliving that trauma.
And disappointing.
Shilpa Mittal, we really hope that there's going to be justice in your case. I can't say speedy justice because 8 years is a very, very long period in any case. But I do hope we will see a conclusion or closure very soon, and it would be just. We pray for strength for you and your family, Shilpa Mittal. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm being joined at this point by PK Jain, who's a retired senior IPS officer, Shailesh Sinha, who's the CEO for the Traffic People Foundation, and Lloyd Mathias, who's a business strategist, as well as Khushbu Jain, who's a Supreme Court lawyer. Mr. PK Jain, my first question to you, and it's very important to ask you this question. When a hit and run case happens, or when any accident happens, what is the protocol? I'm asking you this question because I do not understand why repeatedly, whether it be in the Pune case or whether it be in the Mumbai case, all of these cases, there's one big aberration. One doesn't know how much of the level of alcohol was in the body, how much of the alcohol was consumed. Because in Pune case, it was at least after 8 hours, and then we knew the blood samples were swapped, and then later on, other evidence were taken whatsoever. Then in the Mumbai case, again, the accused in this particular case was on the run for 3 hours, for 3 days. Almost 3 days, he's been arrested after almost 60 hours. Now, what's the protocol? Because if you do have to establish drunken driving, in this case also there was an 18,000 plus bill in a bar that was paid. We are told by some people that he was drinking an energy drink. That's very hard to believe with 80,000. Nonetheless, I'm not saying he drank because that's to be proved by law, but already this case seems to be having a big loophole.
Sneha, good evening. See, the protocol is very clear. First of all, we take the victim or the injured person to the hospital. We also, in case the person is dead, then of course the other formalities, the panchanama has to be drawn, and then postmortem, etc., has to be conducted. And as far as the accused is concerned, in case he's taken into custody immediately, he's supposed to be sent to the hospital for medical evaluation, and of course the drunken driving in case that is suspected. So in Pune case, what happened was that he was deliberately taken late. That's why. And then the blood samples were swapped by the doctors. So there it was a mischievous play all through, right from the stage of the first respondent in terms of police and to the later respondents in terms of the JJB as well as the doctors. So there the evidentiary value was lost. In Mumbai's case, I can dare say that this is a case which does not hinge only on the forensic evidence like the consumption of liquor or the amount of alcohol in his blood. Because in this case, the lady was dragged along for more than 2 kilometers. And then subsequently, her body was disentangled. And then the driver and the main accused swapped their seats. And then again, she was run over deliberately. Now, in this case, to my mind, whether he had consumed alcohol or not, the new BNS says that anybody who's not reporting a hit and run will be facing 10 years punishment. But unfortunately, this section which you earlier mentioned has been held in abeyance. This 1062 has been held in abeyance. But in case the sections of 105 in this case have been applied, that alcohol or no alcohol does not really make much of a difference because there's so much of evidence, both in terms of his being in a bar, then his fast driving, his CCTV footage on the Worli Sea Face. There's plenty of evidence, and there are witness statements and everything. So to my mind, the case will be tried. The only reservation I have as a police officer is whether they should have applied a case of 103, that is murder, in this case or not. The reason being that till that he knew that the lady was under the bumper because there are so many speed breakers on that road. There are bends, turns, everything is there. So there's no way that the person will not know that there's something is sticking under the car. And at the place where they finally stopped the car and they disentangled the body, took the body away and then kept it on the side and then ran over it. to my mind, it makes out a case of murder. So the driver and the co-accomplice, that is the main accused in the hit and run, should have been both booked under 103. And the other people who are trying to shield them, protect them, and screen them should be accomplice in crime. Under Section 238 of the new Act, anybody trying to save an accused or screen him from punishment, destruction of evidence, in case the punishment is more than 10 years, is can be awarded a punishment of 7 years. But if the punishment is less to the main accused, the punishment for the screener also comes down. So it is 7 years, 3 years, and anything between 0 and 3 years. So it all depends. Now the police, to my mind, has to apply 103. If they've not applied 103, they've applied 105. Obviously, the accused will probably get benefit of the lighter sections comparatively. But in case even the culpable homicide in this case is proved, there's a minimum punishment of 5 years. Let us keep that in mind. The new law is harsher. So in case the case is proved in the court of law, to my mind, he will be facing a 5 years minimum imprisonment. Sneha.
Right. In fact, I'm also being joined by Khushbu Jain at this point. Khushbu, do you want to take us through this? Because it's important for viewers to understand as well. BNS is in place, the new set of, which is part of the new set of criminal laws. What changes? In a very layperson's language, hit and runs happened before, hit and runs are happening now. Records, the numbers that we have show almost a 40%, 43% hike, increase in hit and run cases on the road from 2019 till 24, just in a span of 4 years. Now, when you're looking at something like this, Khushbu Jain, what would you tell the viewers? What changes? At the heart of it, is speedy justice possible? Because we saw in this, in Shilpa Mittal's case, she's been waiting for 8 years for one effective hearing. It's not happened. But what changes for the ordinary person who's fighting a case like this?
See, to look into the new law that has come into place, you'll have to see the same thing. I'll continue that Section 106, which is the new law which you were referring with, actually deals with the challenges which were being found in the earlier act, which was the IPC, Indian Penal Code, which did deal with the aspects of hit and run, but did not put in hit and run directly. And there used to be combinations that has to be put in. But if you look into that, a lot of time used to pass. And because of that, these were bailable offenses. People used to hit, run, and then they used to apply for a bail and with anticipatory bail, and the case used to go little low. And that golden hour used to miss. So to have and see the number of cases that were coming in, as you were mentioning, to understand that India is been grappling with this harrowing consequences of hit and run incidents. That's why, which were regulated by Section 304 of IPC, that is causing death by negligence of Indian Penal Code. And the punishment was 2 years, merely 2 years, or a fine. And this was also bailable and could not actually, in a way, tackle the run aspect of hit and run cases. So this was being introduced in the new act, which is BNS, where 102 talks about 1062 talks about the lacuna, try to deal with the lacuna if you have to look into. And if I have to put it again, it's a non-bailable offense. Punishment is up to 3 years. It does talk about that aspect of fleeing, that if somebody runs away or somebody escapes, that running away and escape is a element which is mandated, which is part of it by the accused, making it a separate offense altogether.
Right.
But if you'll have to see, that is under abeyance. It's yet to be enforced. The BNS law is enforced from 1st of July. But this specific section that we are dealing with is kept in abeyance because earlier Motor Vehicle Act also dealt with the same thing. That's where the entire strikes happened by the truck.
Khushbu Jain, are you essentially at this point saying, can I just ask you, are you saying at this point that possibly a section that could have acted as a much stronger deterrent in law, a section that was meant to do that job, is actually in abeyance right now, is not enforceable?
Absolutely.
So are we then saying it is only a matter of the years of punishment? that may change in the current scenario? What changes for a person who's on the wrong side of the law, as well as those who are fighting for justice? What changes for them? Very quickly, just a brief.
Just a brief, if you'll have to, again, I'm saying that there are aspects in the new law which are dealing with other things, but the only aspect which you're talking about, hit and run, is very beautifully covered in section 106(2), which we have to wait that it gets absolutely implemented. But without that, as section 238, somebody aiding and helping out somebody in escaping, having a knowledge that the crime has been committed and tries to hide evidence is another thing. The punishments are very harsh. The combination of punishments which are there already is there, but the aspect of that hit and run, I think we still have to wait for it to come.
I'd like to come in, Sneha.
That's so important. Emmett, yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Sneha, I only have to add one more thing in this. The prosecution now, the process of prosecution will be faster under the CRPC, which has now been changed. The Evidence Act, the digital evidence is now directly will be accepted by the courts. So to my mind, now the process of prosecution will be shorter, because there'll be no adjournments, there'll be no wasting of time. See what your earlier Miss Mittal was stating, that 8 years and no effective hearing, that kind of a thing probably is not a possibility under the new regime. But let's wait and watch as to how it plays out.
See,
Sneha.
another thing, I'll add one more point to the same thing.
That's true, Mr. Lloyd Mathias. Just allow me, sir, ma'am, just allow me, because there are two more panelists who are really waiting to just make their introductory remarks. Lloyd Mathias joins us right now. You're based out of Mumbai. This is unfolded in Mumbai. Did this come as a shock? Because we're talking about a rise of, say, 43% of cases of hit and run across the country in a span of, say, what, 4 years, 5 years? That's a large number for a country like India, sir. At least 35,000 deaths, 35,000 plus deaths. It's anywhere around 37,000 deaths really that have been reported in India alone with hit and run cases, rash driving cases. That's huge for a country like India. And what seems to have been one of the biggest sections, the strongest sections of the BNS, which could have dealt with this in a very, very potent manner, is in abeyance.
Thank you, Sneha. I think I'm glad that you've chosen to highlight this topic. So it's rather tragic that we wait for these very sad cases, right? Mrs. Dakwa in Mumbai, and what Shilpa Mittal shared. I think the larger issue, and I heard both my previous panelists' comments. I think the larger issue is, are we making Indian roads safer, right? I know for a fact that what the data shows is that today accidental deaths or road accident deaths are the highest causes of death for young people in our country. And while elsewhere in the world this is either declining or standard, in India it's still growing alarmingly. A lot of the issues that both Ms. Jain and the police officer, Mr. Jain, mentioned were about how the new BNS laws are tackling it tighter. And I think that's welcome and that's wonderful. I think one more aspect needs to be looked into is, how do we treat the whole issue of your permission to drive on the street? How stringent are our driving license issuing norms, right? To what extent do people get penalized for minor traffic violations so they don't go unhindered into these larger killer incidents, right? While to an extent, the issue with rich brats driving luxury cars becomes big news, I think that's just one tip of the iceberg. The reality is a lot of road accidents happen. The reality is a lot of people lose their lives to bad, irrational, or rash driving. So I think the issue is first about trying to be as preventive as possible, the very aspect of tighter licensing norms. Second is to have far more severe penalties at various aspects of the entire the road ecosystem. And of course, then making sure that our judicial system acts fast, acts swiftly, and punishment is delivered. Today, I think we have a larger issue, right? We have very weak enforcements. We have an inability to actually penalize both people who are perpetrators, as well as in the cases where minors are driving, penalizing the owner of the vehicle or the parents in that case, right? Right now, I think that's a clear lacuna. And therefore, people get the free will to drive like maniacs, really, spoiling and really creating so much of issues for families like the two that we heard of in the show.
What you've raised is so critical because India's challenge is twofold. And I want to get my next guest onto this, Shailesh Sinha. This is something that you deal so strongly with. You're the CEO for the Traffic People Foundation. Now, let me ask you this question. What should somebody do if someone is caught in an accident? Now, it is a road, accidents do happen. But there's a big difference between an accident, there's a big difference between a rash driving, drunken driving accident, and there's a big difference between a hit and run accident. I want you to spend a few minutes here because it's very important for our viewers to understand their response to a situation like this determines what they are going to get into. Ironically, and I have to say this, I'll go to PK Jain towards again for this because irrespective, I wish I could say irrespective of what reach you have, what political clout you have, but I'll get to that for the common people, for ordinarily according to law. Shailesh Sinha, please take us through this.
See, first of all, we need to understand that everything has to be dealt practically, right? All the IPCs, all the judiciary, everything would work. But end of the day, I have always been saying, and I would always say that it is all about responsible behavior. See, Sneha, if at all you are on the driver's seat, when you're driving the car, you know that if I do rash driving or if I do drunk driving, or if I do anything which is, which is not hygienic for the road, it would, harm somebody who is using the road, right? So even if it's hit and run, even if it's drunken driving, if it's rash driving, anything of that sort is harmful for the people using the road apart from you and yourself. We need to take it from the personal angle, right? So end of the day, it is managing the machine. Managing machine is all my responsible behavior. What I'm taught from the house, what I'm taught from the institutions, what I'm taught from these, machinery system. See, a car driving is not only just managing the steering. It is complete, motion of all the systems of my body, my ears, my reflexes, my legs, my eyes. Everything is in place. And if I'm drunk, if I'm doing rash driving, I'm practically a killer on the road. So a common man, whosoever, if somebody finds somebody on the road like this, in terms of the accident victim part, so there's a good Samaritan law. We need to have those people also active on the road, that please take care of the golden hour time. If somebody is there on the road as a victim, please pick that person to the hospital. No hospital would ask you for, and how did you, bring this, and no questions would be asked from you. You just do your bit. You just do play a good national charactered role. And IPC, judiciary, everything would work. I'm again telling you, it is all about responsible behavior. And this is, the accident, the Porsches, the BMWs, the Mercedes, all these accidents are, looking like a power and poor fight. Power brings a kind of arrogance that, yes, I can do and I'll be saved. And the poor is always a victim. So I heard Mittal, Miss Mittal, Mr. Jain, and everyone else in the show. And I started this thing that if at all there would be any stringent punishments, the challenge, the things, the day it would happen, India would see a drastic change. The judiciary needs to be stricter on the traffic laws, on these hit and run cases, on these, rash driving, drink and driving. Everything needs to be taken care in a very stricter way. There has to be a very sound and loud message going to everyone that yes, if you do the wrong thing, you will be, addressed or trialed under murder case. It's just like, for a vehicle, I need a driving license. Same way we need a license for a pistol. So that simply means a vehicle is a weapon if not used right. And we are losing about 1.5 to 2 lakh people per annum in India. So we need to be aware. We need to be judiciary. Practical aspect has to be there when it comes to dealing with these kind of accidents. IPC, judiciary, everything would work, but stringent challenge, stringent punishments needs to be there. There has to be a big, loud lesson for the people who are, doing these kind of activities on the road. Why? Why somebody who is just going to the market, getting some food for themselves, are hit and run by somebody and, vanishes from the earth? Why? There has to be something which needs to be taken care from the judiciary angle, from the police angle, from every angle of the society.
Absolutely,
I mean, these
absolutely,
people
Mr.
should
Shailesh
not be
Sinha.
left just because they're
PK
powerful.
Jain, my
This
last
is what-
question to you. We're totally out of time, but I want to spend a minute to you. India has a culture where you have somebody in some high position. You have an uncle who's an IPS officer. You have an auntie who is an IPS officer. You have a nana, nani, dada, dadi, whatsoever. There's somebody in some family who has some reach, and therefore there is this attitude that I can get out of this situation. How does the law and the enforcement manage to tackle that? Because they have failed to tackle this for now. Look at the Pune Porsche case. Look at, for that matter, the Mumbai case. 3 days, 60 hours. And this is not just anybody who could just go and hide anybody. This is a Shiv Sena strongman's son who was on the hiding. And before that, there were all attempts for cover-up, including the swapping the seat with the driver. So there was known cover-up by the father, who was arrested and out on bail immediately, by the driver, who is in custody, who knew that he was reversing and taking the car for a second time over the woman's body. Look at the travesty of justice, if I can already say that word. Very strong, but nonetheless.
Neha, I agree with you. I have been maintaining this stand over a long period of time. The law, we all say everybody is equal before law, but that is not the case. In this case, though the state will be fighting for Mr. Nakhwa's wife, the deceased, but the fact remains eventually he's a government servant, he's a public prosecutor, and things like that. Somewhere down the line, the things do get diluted. You've heard Ms. Mittal a little while ago. So the fact remains that the law is not same for everybody. Anybody who can put up a strong defense in the court, it is the words eventually spoken in the court which make a lot of difference. It is the face of the advocate who appears in the court makes a lot of difference. So whether somebody gets justice or not is something which is a very long haul. In this country, the law is different for the rich and powerful. The law is different for influential people. So it's a fact of life. Let's face it. But yet, you cannot just write off the system. The system, eventually, we are all subjugated to the system. The system works. Sometimes it takes you through, and many times it does not. So that is the only thing I can say. I have been a part of this system. Yesterday or day before yesterday, one constable got crushed by the liquor mafia in Nasik. So it is not a question of a common man getting killed every day. It's people getting, enforcers getting killed, citizens getting killed. Anybody who's at the wrong side of the law or wrong side of the wrongdoer, they suffer, their families suffer, but whether they get justice or not is a big, big question mark. We've already forgotten the Pune case. The boy got bail, his some other relations also have got bail, the father has got bail, some other accused have got bail. So now what will happen? We've all forgotten about it. He got bail because the Juvenile Justice Board till the last minute did not give permission to try him as an adult. And we've already forgotten about it. We do mention it in our discussions, but we've forgotten about it. So this is what happens to most of these cases. We discuss them for a few days and that's the end of it. The system keeps working the way it works.
All right. So we're totally out of time, sir. PK Jain, Shailesh Sinha, Lloyd Mathias, and Khushbu Jain. All four of you, thank you very much for joining us. One word for our viewers. Please do not consume liquor and drive, irrespective of what level of liquor you have consumed. If you're watching this show, it's a humble request from all of us. Do not consume liquor and drive. Do not break the law for a speeding thrill. If you have a limit, a speed limit, please follow that. It's not just about you and your driving skills. It's about somebody else who may be on that road as well. Thank you for joining us. It's time for a very short break.